So when we're talking about school and she's not doing well in school, it's like, hey, listen, I need you to do well in school. Why? Because this is my backstory. Look, I went to high school. I was a football player. I was doing great. I had a social life, but I didn't focus on my grades, so I didn't get to go to Vanderbilt. But it doesn't make sense. And I had a full ride scholarship to Vanderbilt.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Dads on Purpose, the podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ashford. As always, I got the big homie KB. How you doing, man?
What's up, baby? We back!
Yo, every time, Mike. I love it because he's the energy, and I'm just like I might tell a few jokes. I think they're funny. My wife doesn't, but that's whatever.
I think the colors of the shirts too kind of gives it a good balance as well.
Hey, man, look, we'll get into that in a minute, but man, we got guests in the house, man. We got Mr. Mike Bowers. How you doing, Mike?
Man, everything is good. Everything is really good. How you guys doing today?
Yo, I'm good, man. How's the weather on the West Coast? We in Texas, so it's like 26 degrees today.
Bro, like it was nice yesterday, and today it's like cold.
It's chilly.
That means it's like 50.
I ran out of coffee this morning, so I had to go to get some coffee, and so I had to throw on a sweatshirt. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's definitely chilly out there right now. I'm from New York, so I love seasons. I love snow and all that. I'm not a real big fan of the lack of seasons here, but it's our chilly season. You know what I'm saying? But that can go for like days. You know?
Yo, real quick though, you mentioned the shirts, and it just hit me that Kev got on my USC color shirt, and I got this UCLA joint over here. I'm not a UCLA fan, but
how did that even happen?
Huh?
How those colors even happen?
So Teach Love Connect, the fatherhood brand, for fathers by fathers, holding it down. You see me and Kev with the swag on, but this is our clothing brand. This is what we got, man. We got the fatherhood over everything. We got dad shirts. We got the fatherhood mug. TLCbrand.com.
Oh, no, I've been seeing the mugs. I love the graphics. I love the
thank you.
The quotes. I love the layout of those things. I love them a lot. I like it a lot.
Man, we're just here's what happened, man. It was like a notice of like there was nothing dope for dads out there, like in good quality. Right. Moms get everything, man. Moms get all the swag. They get all the motherhood groups, the mommy and me. You know what I mean? Like they get it all, which deservingly so. Like they deserve those things, but dad deserve them too. So that's kind of how it all happened, man.
We need a little love.
Yo, let's get into this podcast. And before we got on, I kind of told you guys like I'm excited to do this episode, but I'm not excited. Because here's the thing. So Kev, you did this clip the other day on our podcast, on our IG page, and it was Tom Brady after winning the Super Bowl. He was on the stands, had the worst country accent going on in the history of Everdom. I played it, and my wife was like, "No, he doesn't sound country." I said, "Listen to it again," and she heard it, and she was like, "What is that?" But anyways, so he's on stage with his family, with his kids, and it just hit me like that is the epitome of really just like modeling behavior for your kids, and bringing them alongside and showing them, you know, what it takes to be great and like putting them in the moment. Because when you think about it, like my man's been in the NFL since before they were born. Like he's been in the NFL and succeeding and cheating since what, 2000? When did he get drafted?
Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah, he got 2000. And so his kids are like, what, 11?
Yeah.
So that means that their entire life, they have seen dad model this, like, won't stop, won't quit, be competitive. Like, this is how you succeed mentality. And I want to talk about that for a second. Not really Tom Brady. I'm just using him as an example. But I want to talk about, like, how do we really walk with our kids? You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to tell them what to do, but it's another thing to show them and to be, you know what I mean? Like to be. So I want to know, like, how are y'all walking with your kids in whatever season they're in? So Kev, I know Kendall's 12. Mike, I don't know how old your kids are.
I have my daughter who is 9.5, and I have a 27-year-old.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So two way different spectrums, man. So talk to me about that. I mean, have you always walked with them, or what? Because I know you are very positive parenting, conscious type of father. But has it always been that way?
So that's a great question. It was not. I was having a conversation with someone last night, and we got on the topic of falling in love with their children. And so, and I was explaining to him some conversation that I had been having on Clubhouse and other places where, for various reasons, dads they were distracted from what was going on and weren't able to immediately fall in love with their children for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to him how my own personal reason was when my daughter's mother and I, we weren't really a couple, you know what I'm saying? We just kind of hooked up and, she got pregnant and, and to make it matters worse, right before she told me she was pregnant, I was already like, I don't want to see this chick anymore. Like, I had already kind of like.
That's how it be.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm about to bounce. And she's like, actually.
I never even got to tell her that.
Let's have a conversation.
I told her later, but in the moment, she didn't know that she was already on the out. So as we try to, make something of this, I was like, all right. And long story short, the beginning was always just rough.
Yeah.
It's always rough. And so part of that roughness was her criticism of everything that I was doing. So I was really insecure and not want to do things because I was mad at her.
Pause. Did you deserve that criticism though?
I wouldn't say I deserved the criticism. I would say that there are things to do, but what it was, and this is what we were going over last night, because my buddy's girl was pregnant, and so I was trying to get him to have empathy for all that she was going through. And so that's what and I didn't know this at the time, and so that's kind of what I went into it. I didn't know that women go through this change, and they have needs, and I just didn't know that. I didn't grow up with my mother. I didn't grow up with any women. And I never experienced that. Even though I had an older child, her mother kind of did the same thing where she went crazy when she was born and did some weird stuff. And so he's asking me, like, not automatically. I'm like, yo, man, because I had all this, these issues at first. It took a while to get past that to then, as I'm holding her, it not be, don't do this, make sure you do that, do things. And so, it wasn't like, she was 4 before I fell in love with her. It was just more like it took, and I don't remember the moment. It wasn't long, but I do remember that it was like okay, like I feel
like you're trying to say that she was like trying to be your parent too.
Well, she was trying to parent me.
Into how to parent.
But the thing about it was, at the same time, she also had these fears that I was going to take her. And so that was part of our initial arguments. And it's weird. Both of my daughter's mothers thought that I was going to not kidnap them, but like try to go to court and take them. And so I was like, and when they both told me this separately, I was like, what on earth made you think I was going to do that?
What vibes are you really putting out, Mike? Like, let's talk about that. what vibes you putting out that got them thinking they about to kidnap?
I mean, it's really, I don't know. But
give me my key.
There was so much stress at the beginning that I had to get through those things to be in the moment. And so, and then because there was so much stress around it, I didn't know how to do things. So when she was really young and couldn't walk or talk, those are the toughest times.
Man, I feel like as a dad, man, as a dad, like it's we don't, I don't want to say trained, but we're not brought up to really be involved in that process. Like that's not the age-old thing. Like dads aren't quote unquote caretakers, and I feel like it's a shift right now, man.
It's a learned behavior.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. Yeah, you got to learn how to do those things. Like, okay, they're crying. Are you hungry? You tired? What's going on? But KB, man, what about you, man? Did you always love Kendall? And granted, your mama watched this show.
No, I didn't love Kendall. I was like, man, what is this? No, I think my I think my experience was a little bit different because my wife, like, I mean, number one, I'm married, and then number two, my wife kind of is. We're kind of kid people, if that makes sense. We love children. It's not like, and so for me, I was excited. I was ready for the journey. But one of the things that my homeboy Mike Hall explained to me was the baby is with the mom for 9 months.
Yeah.
Think about that. 9 months. 9 months they get to have emotions. 9 months they get to feel the flutters. 9 months they get to love the baby, and we're on the outside. So for 9 months, they're telling us all about the baby, but we don't really get to have that relationship. We don't get to do anything until the baby is born, and until, like Mike's case, but as soon as the baby gets here, it's like, you don't drop them. Don't, hold their head up. Do this. Do that.
Do this.
You're like,
do that.
right? And it's like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? And what I learned was nobody has the right to do anything. We have to be able to sit back and understand even an infant likes to be held a certain way, but that's up to Mike to figure that out. That's up to Josh to figure it out. That's up to me to figure out how it is for me. And so I think that it is difficult. It is very difficult, especially if you're a guy who has any experience with raising kids. Like we just had on my dad's side, we just had a big family. So we were taking care of each other. So when somebody has a kid, we're going over there. So I already knew how to put on diapers. I already knew how to, wipe the butt, put a bottle in there, pacifier, So I already came with those things. But there's a lot of dads out there who don't have that benefit.
I was the only child.
Yeah.
And I was getting in trouble. So I was in foster system and juvenile halls and stuff like that. And so not only did and first of all, I was really smart. I grew up going to private schools.
Yeah.
So I did that. Then came to California, and I came out here to live with my pops, and was like, but first of all, I started getting in trouble in New York. Like it was the 80s, and doing graffiti and just doing all of these different things. And it's funny, I was thinking about this. The four of us, my four homies, or my three homies plus me, one's in jail now. One got out of jail for a murder, but he did like 15 years, but he's out. And another one who started selling dope and got shot in his bed through the window.
Wow. And
when I left New York, I got kicked out of New York because they was like, I had done a few things, and they were like, either you're going to jail here or you can go to California with your dad. 'Cause I was my grandparents out there. And so, I was just on this different trajectory where, because I didn't have my dad out there, I was, I'm trying to flex in a place where flexing was going on everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So, I didn't have that. I didn't have a sister. I didn't have an aunt. I didn't have, none of that around.
It was just you.
I'm just learning how to survive myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not, and so it took a while to get to that point of being like, what's all.
I was gonna say, how did you get to this point though now? Because if your pops wasn't here and you got caught up in that life out there, so did you get caught up in that life because your pops wasn't there? Because when I think about me, bro, I got arrested when I was 12 years old on some dumb stuff, on felony charges. But I had my dad. My dad was a gangster. Now he didn't do what I was doing, but. And my dad and I never had that close relationship. So I think if we did have a closer relationship, I may or may not have went down that path. I may have still did that. We're all our own people. But you get what I'm saying? Like, did you end up that route because your pops wasn't there? And did you flip the switch because he became in your life, or what? Because, I mean, we're talking about modeling behavior.
Yeah.
So that's really what I'm trying to get at.
So it's funny you say that, because he was there. He was just here in California because he had moved. He got out of the Marines, came out here. So when I came out here, and the thing about it is, growing up, I was back and forth the whole time, like, all kind of stuff. So he was a positive person. My pops is a Panther, and he was very it's funny because he's a Panther, but I'm going through these schools in New York that are all white, and they're all Lutheran schools, and they're doing the section, the national anthem. I'm sitting down, and this is like in second grade. Now, I'm gonna be right here, and so I kind of grew up with that kind of a thing. So when I came to California, he was here, and he trying to put the law down, but because I had not had the law for a while, and now I'm at this point of like I'm trying to flex. He's trying to really lock it down. Especially I just came from New York, getting in trouble. Now he's trying to lock it down. So fast forward, I had a good foundation in the sense that I knew what was right and wrong. I was just making bad decisions. Judges always said, too smart for my own good. My crimes were always figuring things out and cracking systems and can we do this kind of a thing. I wasn't robbing people. It was always like, when we're stealing cars, I'm like, yo, how can we get that ignition? Or, my thing got into like banks and credit cards and phones. And so for me, it was always, how can we do this? And then, like, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, yo, can we go rob that person? Or, yo, what can we do today? It was if I can crack this code here, we can do 10 G's a day, yo. Like, it was kind of a thing.
So your pops ain't affect you on none of that?
Well, he did because he taught me technology and he introduced me to things, but it was always my desire to. He was an entrepreneur, and so I had an entrepreneur spirit, and so I always wanted to be my own person.
Yeah.
But I got into a motorcycle accident, and so when I got in my accident, that's what changed my life. That ain't going to jail. So I got into an accident. And it sat me down for a year. I couldn't walk. I went off a cliff on my motorcycle. So I should have died, but I didn't die. I couldn't walk for a year and all that stuff. So that stopped all the dirt. Because now all that was gone. Now I'm like, yeah, whatever. I can't do that shit anymore. But I still got my computer background. But then because I didn't pay back all this money, I had to go do a year in jail. And so when I did that time in jail, the combination of those things, it just really made me like, damn, dog, like you too smart for this shit. Like we can't keep doing this. This is not scalable.
It's a family show.
Well, I'm keeping it real though.
Yeah, I'm keeping it real.
I gotta keep it real with you too, because my grandma listened to this.
I wish you would still appreciate the fact that I'm putting it in the context. I'm not throwing up cuss words for the sake of it. But in the moment, I was like, yo, something's got to change.
Yeah.
So then at that point is when things did change. And so that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to take advantage of what I have within me. And so I always knew the right thing. I was just making the choice not to do it. And my dad always modeled the right thing, but I was making other decisions. My whole point in all that is we can do the right thing. And the point is to focus on the right thing and put that foundation in there. And that's kind of where I'm about, where everything I'm doing with my daughter and with all my messaging is about that foundation. You can't control what happens when they leave the house. But you can give them the ability to make good decisions even when they're out there. Because even when they're out there, if they do find themselves in the wrong situations, life isn't over. You can survive that. And as a matter of fact, when I went to jail, I had a dope experience. I actually ended up working in the school, teaching people. I found a love for cooking.
Hold up. Wait, we're not going to let that slide. We're not going to let that slide. You went to jail and you had a dope experience.
I made it because I made it what it was. I made those decisions. I didn't let my situation be who I was. You know what I'm saying? And so even in those moments, I was like, you know what? Hold up. I can fix this. I can be out of here. I am more than this. And so having that internal attitude that my dad did give me, that sustained even when I was amongst all this crap. So you got to have a good foundation and allow your kids to make decisions on their own because things are going to come up. And that's my point. You're going to do things. And you got to be allowed to do that and know that you can survive.
Yeah, I agree. Like we can lay the foundation, but they have to make the decision. And I think we modeling those decisions help, but they're still going to make the decision that they want to make.
You can make mistakes and recover, and that's why I share with my daughter and everyone. I am quick to let people know, yo, I've been over there, but I also speak to rooms full of adults on cybersecurity and why they should keep their stuff safe. So I have the full range and understand that even if someone makes poor decisions, they don't have to be for the rest of your life, and you can recover. And even when I was in those dark places, I got a lot of value that I've learned.
I think that recovery. I was just gonna say, I think that recovery part is very a good point, because I think we allow our kids make bad decisions, but we never think about the full recovery. We just think about the discipline, and then we never think about, okay, we made this mistake. Why did we make this mistake? And then how can we do better so we can have a better outcome in the future?
For mistakes. That's a huge thing. You know what I'm saying? I have to tell my daughter, I'm like, yo, I made some bad mistakes. So that's why I ended up there. So
but that's good right there.
Responsibility for it.
That's good right there, though. Think about that. You have the conversation about the decisions and the things that you've made, like the bad mistakes that you made, and you're sharing that with your kid. And I think that's modeling behavior that we don't really do a whole lot of. We don't share our life with our kids. We just try to tell them, hey, do this, watch me do this. But they don't know the backstory behind that. I was having a conversation with somebody else. I was in Houston before COVID really hit. And so I went, and it was just me and Kendall, and me, my dad and my mom were just sitting on the porch. I was just like, how did y'all get together? Like, what's the backstory? Like, I only know y'all from when I was born to now. Well, what's the backstory behind that? But watch this. Learning the backstory made me understand not only their relationship, but it also made me understand a little bit more about myself, like why I love the way that I love, why I treat the women the way I treat the women, because now I have a full understanding of how they modeled that for us up until this point, if that makes sense. So I think it's really important, if we're modeling stuff, we can't just model the good stuff, right? And I think that's what we always try to push for. I want to model the good stuff, the positivity, but there's some bad stuff too, right? Hey, Brady lost too, right? He wasn't always a winner. There was times where he was losing, and he had to go back and grind, and he had to go back and improve himself. But that's with anybody, right? That's with anybody.
I mean, that absolutely. Like, we got to share the good and the bad, man. I think it goes, like, I think about the story where you got the set of twins, man. They grew up in the same household. Daddy was an alcoholic. One went to jail, and they asked him, hey, how did you end up, in jail? It's like, hey, my daddy was alcoholic. I didn't have a choice. The other one was successful, and they were asking, hey, how'd you end up successful? It's like, hey, my daddy was an alcoholic. Like, I had no choice. Like, I had to find this other way. So we can model the behavior, but like you said, Mike, ultimately, it's really up to them to make their own decision. I wanna stay right here. Because we've talked about a lot of, like the goods and the bad, like you're supposed to model the good and the bad and things like that. Mike talked a little bit about it, about like how he does that with his daughter, KB. I want to get your insight, man. Like what do you do to model your behavior, the good and bad, with Kendall? Because we know, especially as a dad of a girl and a guy, I mean, it's important for fathers of kids, boys or girls, but I feel like it's really important for fathers of girls to model that behavior that we want our daughters to see in a future mate, in a future spouse, and something like that. So what are you doing to model that for her?
Man, really just loving her, like really just loving her for who she is, because to me, that's the best model. When we talk about what kind of man that I want her, or that I hope that she'll choose, because that still, she has a choice, right? And Lord, I'm dreading the day, y'all. Hey, we're going to have some conversations when that started happening. But my biggest thing is to make sure that I'm giving her the love, and I'm modeling the things that a man should be doing, or the man should step into a role. Like, and it is funny because I was just on I think I was on the Facebook, and they were talking about gender roles. And are you teaching your kids gender roles? And it's like, to me, it's not about gender roles. It's about, can you take care of yourself? Are there things that, the basics, and then walking with her through those things when she makes mistakes, right? And then I share my backstory when those mistakes have happened. So when we're talking about school and she's not doing well in school, it's like, hey, listen, I need you to do well in school. Why? Because this is my backstory. Look, I went to high school. I was a football player. I was doing great. I had a social life, but I didn't focus on my grades. So I didn't get to go to Vanderbilt, but it doesn't make sense. And I had a full ride scholarship to Vanderbilt, but
to Vanderbilt. They let fullbacks in at Vanderbilt because you know they number 5'7".
Could have been a champion story.
But and they weren't gonna put me at strong safety, but it was one of those things that we had, I just try to model that and walk with her. I think that's one of the things. We just want to model it and leave it to them to figure it out, but you got to follow up. There has to be some kind of follow up. You can't just say, okay, this is the lesson and this is what you've been through. Okay, so how are we doing better? And then we also, I think also too, we're trying to get her to like use a planner and write everything on the planner. Yeah. And that's not who she is. So I have to figure out what is the better route in order for her to make sure she's getting her things done and she's keeping track. So I think there's a lot of modeling, follow up, and adjusting to what's best for our kids, right? And I think that's the way that I go. I try to model, follow up, and then adjust, because sometimes not everything is going to work for her. And so if I keep pushing her to do something that doesn't make sense for her, then I have to figure out another way. So my other way was like, dude, you got an iPad. So if you don't want to write it down, let's type it up in the calendar, and then it's going to give you alerts, right? So I'm just trying to find different ways to work with them and build them up. And that's kind of what I've done.
Mike, I feel like you was about to jump in there.
Well, I wanted to, first of all, acknowledge what you're saying, that, I understand, trying to solve problems. And my approach actually came from before this book. Are you familiar with this, Between the World and Me?
Man, I've heard good things about it.
So right now, there's they've taken this book and they've made a special about it on HBO. And there's a quote in there that came from Tanishi's grandmother to his mother. Mm-hmm. And his grandmother grew up in a time of slavery and, all of that in the South. And she says to her mother, to her daughter, his mother, all I can do is prepare you for the world. My world was different. I grew up in slavery. I'm preparing you to not be in slavery. So his mother was like, listen, I'm preparing you to not get beat over the head by these white folks trying to put you back into slavery. Yeah. That's what I'm preparing you for. That's my mission. So he grew up with kind of that mission. I need to go get an education, and I need to not have these white folks come beat me over the head. There's no emphasis on love, no emphasis on these other things. And so the point was, all you can do is give your kids the foundation, support that foundation, mm-hmm. but this is their world. We don't know what their world's going to be like. Like for us, I'm 48. So I grew up, with the internet, like kind of, before internet. It's funny, my daughter asked me for Black History. She asked me these 10 questions, and one of them was, did you have color TV when you was a kid? And so, but it's that kind of a thing where for her, it's nostalgia. Even the concept of turning knobs, all those little things don't even exist for her. So her reality is based on Alexa being a thing, mm-hmm. and all of that. And so the challenges in their lives and all of that's going to be completely different. We cannot prepare them for that. We don't know what mm-hmm. that's going to be. And every generation, it's cannibalizing the issues of the one before it. You know what I'm saying? And so as we say, yo, don't let these things happen, they're like, okay. And they go out and they make that change. All we can do is prepare them. My goal mm-hmm. is to prepare mm-hmm. them to make change. Everybody's got different things. I come from a son of a Panther, an entrepreneur, and a Black man. So I'm coming from survival, eating, and knowing who you are, but also be happy. So that's my flavor of parenting, where other ones might be like, yo, you need to climb rocks. And the other one might be like, yo, you need to learn how to code. The point is, once our kids get out there, their world is going to be their world. Yeah. And all we can do is give them what I call the metaphorical tool belt, so that when things are wrong, like, what? I got something for that. Hold on. and they can reach.
I think that's so dope, man, because
I like that.
that kind of hits on what Kev was just talking about is, you can teach Kendall like the importance of doing a schedule and things like that because that was your hurdle. But now there's so much different technology that schedule might not be her hurdle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so
get the work done. How will you get the work done? Okay.
There you go.
How else can you prioritize this task? It's got to get done. How do you feel? And so it's funny, Elon Musk, I was listening to him last week, and it was of all the weird questions that was posed to him, someone said, how do you think children should learn 5 and forward?
They asked Elon Musk that?
That's what I said. I was like, whoa. I had to break out my notes. I took notes on that question. And so he was like, well, my kids, most of the stuff they've learned from YouTube and Reddit. So that was one thing. The second is something that I've been very big on, and so I was really validated when he said it, and that is to get kids to reverse hack things. And so, you want to go to space? How do you get to space? And so when I try to put it, when I'm talking to other dads, I'm like, yo, if your kid wants to be a YouTube star, great, awesome. Research,
which is a real career now. Like everybody ain't got to go to college.
This ain't just about, and first of all, so you talked about modeling. Mr. Bauer's IG is for my oldest daughter. So 6-7 months ago, I'm talking to her after not talking to her for 10 years. I'm talking to her about career advice. She's got a degree for Virginia Commonwealth. And I'm like, she's like, yo, I got a degree. She's a new mom, son's 2, so I'm a grandfather. But she's doing like these admin assistant jobs and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm not one. But I'm like, yo, think bigger than that. Like, this is your time. She's beautiful for one. And she's a nice mom. But I'm like, yo, people are making money and making a living off of social networks. And there's all kinds of ways. There's just a ton of ways you can do it. So I'm trying to convince her to find something you can do, right? And so when she's like, yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and do this administrative assistant thing, I'm like, hurry to be done.
Yeah. But you're not talking her language, because that's the same thing that, I don't want to say same problem, but that's the same conversation I had with my mom. Like, my mom has done a job for 30 years and she got laid off during the pandemic. And I was like, yo, like, you can make money on YouTube. Like, you used to have a hair business, braiding hair. I was like, you can teach people how to braid hair. Like, there's a lot of people out there. Everybody don't want to learn from them. You know what I mean? Like, there's a niche for you, for whatever you want to do. You don't need 1 million followers. Like, bro, like, all you need is a couple thousand that want to rock with you and that are willing to pay for your product. And so but my mom, she doesn't want to do it because I'm not speaking her language. I haven't hit on a pain point. So for your daughter, there might be a pain point that you ain't hit on, that she not really rocking with. Like, there's something that we're not hitting on.
Well enough. That's the thing. I don't know her well enough. I'm not connected enough to do that. And so all I can do is lead by example.
Yeah.
And that's,
I get it. I was just saying, like, yo, like, we got to hit on, I don't want to say we got to hit on pain points, but things that matter to them.
Yeah.
Well,
Kendall might not care about planning her schedule. She might not care about good grades, but you're going to have some good grades while you're in this house.
Well, that's a good point that you just touched on. Like, you take it back to, obviously, why do we have to get the work done? It's to turn it into good grades. Why are we getting good grades? So we can graduate. Why are we graduating? So we can, have a path in life. What do we want to do? We want to eat. Okay, so how are we going to eat? Well, we gotta you know what I'm saying? You take them where you want to be. You want to get there.
It's a lot of questions.
You got to start here and get to there.
But I think that, you say it's a lot of questions, but those are the questions when we're talking about modeling. We're not just, because I think sometimes I don't want us to take it where I'm showing them how to do this and I'm showing them how to do that, but that's not their passion. So even if it's not their passion, how do you model what they are passionate about for them? And so for me, I've been like, so as we know in children, you only teach them so much in the house, and then you have to get a mentor, you have to get someone on the outside to reinforce the things that you're trying to model. And so I think that's been the next step for us. It's like, man, we've been, damn, you need to do this, you need to do that, you want to be an actor, you want to be singing, you want to, all these things, but you're going to have to expand yourself. But she can't continue to hear from us. She also has to hear the same modeling that we're talking about from somebody else on the outside. So I think that meant, like, you got to figure out what their passion is while we're modeling these behaviors for them. Hey, Josh, I want to ask you, bro, how are you modeling? Because you got babies. And I think that modeling behavior just doesn't start when they get older. I mean, I think it starts as young as possible. So how do you model healthy behaviors for your kids at this age?
Yo, man, I think it's funny because, like, I'm conscious of this all the time, just like aware of the things that I'm doing, especially around them. So if my daughter asks me to do something, a lot of the times I'll drop what I'm doing to pay attention to her or go hang out with her to let her know that daddy's paying attention. And so that's something that I like to model. It's like, yo, you need to pay attention. Like, this is how you be. This is how you stay present. She might not know what being present means, but she knows, like, hey, if you're giving someone your attention, you stop doing what you're doing. I don't try to be on my phone a lot while I'm with them. Like, yeah, I am, like, everything, my alerts will go off and things like that. But a lot of the times I try to keep my phone down because I don't want her to see daddy, telling her it's okay to always be on your phone. I'm thinking about when she's a teenager. Then I'm thinking about when she's an adult. Like, hey, okay, my dad put his phone down. Like, I can put my phone down. It's not the end of the world if I put my phone down, because kind of like Mike said, like, we grew up with the internet and without the internet. But these kids these days, all they know is the internet. And so I don't want them to understand. I don't want them to think that is life. Like, life is right here. So put your phone down. I'm caught. One second. But I'm cognizant also of my tone and how I respond to her and how I respond to other people, especially in the car. Like, back in the day, someone cut me off, I flick them off and I yell at them and I do all this. But now, I got my daughter in the car and she's only 2, but she's 2 going on 13. And I'm very much aware that she's listening and repeating what I'm saying and what other people are saying. So, when when we're in the car and somebody honks or I honk, and she'll laugh because someone honked at my wife and my wife got mad. And so now whenever she hears the horn, she's just like, oh, you need to slow down, daddy. It's like, oh, no, baby, daddy's, I'm good. So that's how I model it, man. And it's just with my behavior. But Mike, what were you about to say, man?
You mentioned something.
That's why you got to take notes, man. Get your notepad out.
Yeah, no, I think that I was gonna, like, let it go. But you had touched on it's not important. I think what it was about just allowing them to. I think it was about freedom. I one of the things I always I don't say butt heads, but I usually conflicting philosophies with people is not being as rigid and allowing for things to go wrong and allowing for gems to be found in that place of error, I guess, because I've had so much value in places I was like, man, I did not expect to come in here, but yo, this is dope. So I've had a lot of those moments in life, and as much as I like to plan and have things go right, I've had a lot of value in things going wrong, and even in the ability to survive when things have gone wrong. And I even have a recurring, I won't say nightmare dream, but I have this recurring theme dream where everything seems like it's about to end. And then at the last minute, I look to my left or right, and it's like an oh shit exit. Like, oh. And I can just
I'm good.
Or I thought that this huge thing was going to roll over me.
Right.
Close, the light opened up, and I can see there's a little crevice. I can just step to the side, and when I step over there, There's a mall over there. You know what I'm saying? Like a weird kind of a don't worry. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Stay calm. Look for answers. They're there. And so I really try to emphasize that.
That's good, bro. That's good, man. Because I think when we talk about modeling, I don't think we ever allow ourselves to allow our kids to fail, right? So I look at it like some people want to hold their hand. I want to catch. I want you to fall. I want you to fall in my space. I want you to fall in my presence. I want you to fall where I can help you now. So when you do leave from me, it's not like you've never failed before. I never allowed you to fail before. And so I think when we talk about modeling behaviors, I think sometimes when we want to model such good behaviors, well, we don't even want to think about the failure. We don't even want to think about, what's the worst that could happen. But I think as a parent, as a father, that's my goal, is to say, okay, I need you. Not that I want you to fail, but I need you to fail. But I need you to fail with me, so I can build you up. Yeah, and get
Kev, you said something about that in another episode, though. I think it was with DJ. You were talking about like there are boundaries, but within those boundaries, you have free reign. Like you can fail over here. Like I want my kids to fail, but I want them to fail with me there.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I don't need you to go out and kill somebody to understand how the justice system works. Right. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna let you walk down these stairs with no handrails, but I'm gonna walk in front of you. So if you fall, you only hit one stair. You don't hit 17.
Yeah.
You know I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's I don't know. But I think we're all talking the same language.
Yes, sir.
Mike is a little bit more freer in his ability or his rope, quote unquote, that he gives his kid, but there's nothing wrong with that. Like kind of how you said, like there's no right, just like the same way every baby likes to be held, there's absolutely no perfect way to parent though either. So I mean, I think if the general concept is there, we can figure out the rest, right?
Yeah, I don't want you to think that I give her a lot of freedom to just go and bump into things. But at the same time, and so about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were at the park, and I almost want to play you guys a video on my phone because I was
gonna sound bad.
She got up into the tree, and she got to this one point of like being afraid to get down. And so in the moment, I was like, I'm not helping you. I said, what if you're out here with your friends? You get up into that tree, and now you're too embarrassed to get down. What you gonna do? Figure it out. And so I'm like, let's look around. What's going on right now? How far?
Yeah.
Okay, look. Like, don't get scared. Look around. Yeah. How far do you think that is? 4 or 5 feet? All right. So, can you put your foot there? Can you put your foot there? What happens if you jump? Would you jump here? You jump there.
I like it.
And so she jumped, right? Or she slid. When she slid, she scraped her leg. So she lands. I'm like, hold up now. I said, hold on. Look, how bad is it?
Yeah.
She's like, it's actually not that bad. I'm like, okay. Let's just check your leg out. Are there any scars? Are you bruised? Are you hurt?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Big hugs, but let's remember this moment.
I like that.
Right there, you thought you were on the second floor. But you just went here, you landed, you're okay. You got a little hurt, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And by the time we're talking about it, it doesn't hurt anymore, does it?
No.
So what did she do?
Got back up.
But my point was I had to get her to embrace that moment of you just overcame that.
Yeah.
You got a little hurt.
Yeah.
That can happen in life. Don't allow the thought of pain to stop you from moving forward. Don't get stuck someplace. Don't be like, oh, no, I'm not going to get out of here without a bruise, so I'm going to stay here until I don't know when.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Try not to get bruised. Don't let the idea that you might get hurt be the reason why you might get hurt even worse.
Yeah. And so, I think that's what's so good about fathers, because I think mothers My baby! What's wrong with my baby? Let's take my baby to the hospital. You get to the hospital, oh, it's just a scratch. She's fine. They're fine. But the fathers are able to say, okay, wait, did you break a leg? Did you break a finger? Like, are you really, really, really hurt? And then be able to recollect them and bring them back in and lift them back up. And I think that's a cool thing about modeling behavior, fathers.
There's a lot of value in those moments, man. When you can recover from something going wrong, or you thought this whole world was going to end when you didn't do this thing, didn't you? Look around.
Kev, I hope your wife watched this episode.
She will.
She's gonna cuss you out.
Nah, she gotta be like, you're right. Because it's been plenty of times where we've been outside and Kendall has failed, and I'm like, wait, let's see if she gets up. Let's see if she's really hurt. Let's see, and like that's because we're talking about modeling behavior. Sometimes we have to model behavior for the spouse or for this other significant other too, right? So, oh man, that was deep. Let me stop right there. But that's the truth. Because see, we don't want. I think we talk about parenting. We also have to talk about co-parenting because my modeling behavior is totally different from my wife's modeling behavior. And so, but we also complement each other, if that makes sense. And I think that that's important. That she's also seeing a different side of it on both levels.
Each other too is important.
Yeah,
respecting differences, just respecting the fact that she rolls a little different than I do.
Right. Hey, let me ask this real quick. I know, Josh, but let me ask this.
I ain't saying nothing.
Do as I say, not as I do. I grew up in that era.
But I explained, and that's another thing that Elon Musk actually went into was, and I'm really, as you already tell, I'm big on explaining. So even when I got down the tree and I explained that, there were huge hugs in the moment. So it wasn't just me explaining, and I'm down on my knee. I'm talking to her down there, so that I'm looking up at her. And, it's like, hey, big old hugs. So does all of that. It's not just the lesson. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't want people to think that I'm just like, all right, so did you learn? Like, I'm not a Marine Corps, like, get it. All right.
What lesson did you learn, honey?
But we can't throw out the overcoming of the adversity by just celebrating the overcoming. You got to be like, yo, remember, because this is going to happen again.
Yep.
Yeah. And it may be worse.
Yeah. Even whether it's going to happen that way or it's going to happen in some other fashion.
Right.
You're going to get some scrapes. But Kev is right. We got to get out of here, man. Mike, yo, I hella appreciate you being on here. I could say hella. It's my show.
Grandma would be like, did you just say that?
I don't know if Grandma's gonna get this far, but look, I'm gonna get a text message.
But that's Cali.
I heard what you said.
But that's Cali. That's what y'all say all the time. I remember I was in Cali. That was like hella cool, hella fresh. I was like,
okay. That's Northern Cali, though.
Right. That's Southern Cali too. Don't get out of here. I've been saying that since second grade. But Mike, yo, final words, final thoughts, man. I don't need you to take 5 minutes. Final thoughts to those dads out there, man, as far as just like modeling behavior. You gave like a bunch of nuggets and a bunch of gems and things like that. And I know we try not to use those buzzwords, but I'm gonna use them right here. That last bit of information that you have for some dads out there, man, whether they are married, teen dads, old dads.
Practice detachment. Have good intentions. Do the best that you can, but be detached from the outcome of your efforts. You are not what happens. So if your son or daughter does or does not do what you want them to, that's okay. Love them anyway. Be there anyway. You may be disappointed, but let that go. It's not up to us. And this is their lives. All we can do is prepare them and let them go.
That's good, man. That's real good.
Mic drop.
Okay. What you got, man?
What do I have for the people? Modeling behavior, like really take the idea of modeling. One of the things that touched me is I can't tell Kendall not to be on her phone, not to be on YouTube, and I'm on YouTube, and I'm on my phone, and I'm doing this. Like, really modeling the behavior. So if I'm saying, hey, you need to take a break, I need to take a break too. You know, I need to show her that I can step away from the electronics and I could do something different. And I think in this age that we're in, oftentimes when we try to say, you know, you need time away from screen time, but then they come into the room and we're on Facebook and we're watching. And like when I say screen time, I'm including the TV, right? Because I think a lot of parents are watching TV a lot and not, you know, engaging with their kids. So definitely focus on modeling the complete behavior that you expect your kid to have. And so that's why I brought up that do as I say, not as I do. No, do as I say and see what I did to tell you why I said do it, right? So that's my 2 cents.
Yo, I love it, man. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land, y'all like and subscribe to the podcast. Yo, go to Apple, man. Apple Podcasts. We're trying to climb some numbers. We're trying to run it up over there. Give us some comments. Go ahead, give us some likes and all that good stuff, and share it with at least 3 people. 1, 2, 3. Share it with 3 people today. What you say?
Spotify.
Yeah, I like Spotify too, man. But we're trying to run up Apple numbers first. Like we trying to climb one mountain at a time.
We on all platforms.
We on Google.
Oh God. So
we on all of them though. But yeah, we appreciate you guys rocking with us, y'all. Until next week, take care. Peace.